Okay, let's record virus history. The world has known many epidemics over the past century caused by viruses that jumped from animals to humans. It all started with the 1918 Spanish flu. That epidemic hit the world just after the First World War. It started in India, where it killed between 10 and 20 million people. Over 50 million people died worldwide. The United States buried some 675,000 people. It was transferred from an unknown bird. Viruses are formed of genetic material, RNA, in a capsid surrounded by a coat of proteins that help the virus attach to cells that it infects. Viruses do not have the machinery to be independent agents. They rely on the machinery of the cell that they infect by attaching to them and injecting their RNA inside to reproduce. Two distinct parts form the protein surrounding the virus. These were referred to as N and H segments, so that the original 1918 version of the virus was called N1H1. After the initial epidemic of 1918-1919, the virus remained as a low-level threat in a semi-dormant form till 1957, when the original N1H1 virus combined with another bird virus to produce the N2H2 version of the flu, which killed some 1 million people worldwide and some 100,000 in the US. Identical scenario happened again in 1968 and produced N2H3 and another flu epidemic. Only the H3 segment of the protein was different, so the N version remained the same. Genetic science was at its infancy, and not as much was known about the genetics of viruses. It was not until much later that techniques were developed, leading to 1997 when a team from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, set out to map out the genes of these viruses. These dug up corpses of victims of the 1918 flu in Alaska and harvested tissue from their lungs. The cold permafrost had preserved them. It was found that the RNA genome comprised 8 segments, each performing a different function. After the various evolutions, the flu virus kept 5 genes from the original 1918 version, acquired a gene from the 1957 version, and 2 genes from the 1968 version. This 1968 H3N2 version became the dominant form of influenza and still is today. It kept coming back in more or less virulent forms. It came back in the form of the bird flu of 2005. Transmission from humans to pigs produced the swine flu epidemic 2009. Progress in vaccine development has allowed us to live normal lives and the flu virus in check. Despite extensive use of vaccines, the flu kills some 35,000 people per year in the US and 10 times that number in the world. Each year, 3 strands of the most common flu viruses are made harmless. Flu vaccines impart immunity for a year, while other viruses like the polio offer immunity for life. Like for polio. Note that the flu is caused either by a virus or a bacteria. Flu vaccination prevents the viral flu, and bacterial flu is treated using antibiotics. Note that flu bacteria evolve producing superbugs that resist antibiotic cure. Other viruses produced Epidemics like Ebola in West Africa. It got transmitted from wild animals in the jungle to humans and severely affected a couple of countries. Its transmission among humans is through contact of infected bodily fluids. After killing tens of thousands of people, it subsides into a semi-dormant state. The coronavirus family contains many members. The Sars coronavirus was identified in 2003, was traced back to wild animals like bats, was transmitted to humans, then propagated among humans. Its spread was concentrated in Southeast Asia, but made its way to Canada. Its mortality rate was low, but reappeared a couple of times since then. The COVID-19 coronavirus appeared in 2019. Its genome was mapped out by many groups just after it was isolated. It has the ability to mutate and infects many people rapidly. It attacks the lungs and has killed over 200,000 people in the US and over 1 million people worldwide. It's plausible that we will see many versions and mutations of this virus appear. Efforts are underway to produce a vaccine. It's not clear whether such vaccine will confer long-term or annual immunity. We have learned to live with the coronavirus with simple practices of face covering, regular hygiene like hand washing, regular testing, contact tracing. But in any case, it's hoped that vaccine will guide the virus into a low-level threat, just like the viral flu patients.